So the project started this year in February, and the BigPanDA workload management system was initially developed for high-energy physics applications, but this proof of concept project is aimed to demonstrate of efficient use this system also for brain studies, for the supercomputer-based reconstructions and simulations, offering a radically new approach in brain studies conducted by Blue Brain project. And in the first phase of that project, the goal was to try of execution Blue Brain project software on a variety of distributed computing systems powered by BigPanDA. Just a quick reminder, what is the BigPanDA system about? It's acronym from Production and Distributed Analysis Workload Management System. It was initially developed for Atlas experiment needs and was successfully demonstrated efficiency since run 1 till the present time, and was able to cope with increasing LHC luminosity, increasing of data taking rate, processing and analysis challenges. BigPanDA has an extension to use supercomputers, clusters, leadership computer facilities, clouds, and etc. And also there is a successful use cases beyond Atlas. For instance, experiments Compass and IMS already use BigPanDA for data processing and analysis, and experiments NEDM and LSST will evaluate BigPanDA. Experiment Alice is interested for BigPanDA evaluation to use Oak Ridge leadership computer facilities. Joint Institute of Nuclear Research in Russia is considering BigPanDA as a main workload management system for all experiments on future NICA collider. And also there are few instances beyond Atlas in Taiwan, on Amazon Elastic Cloud in Russia, and recently we started the new project by deploying the BigPanDA infrastructure on Titan within Oak Ridge leadership computer facilities, and the aim of that instance is to propose the experiments and the groups of scientists who run their jobs on Titan, just propose them to a new, efficient, and useful tool to orchestrate and manage the workflow of their jobs. A very brief reminder about the main components of BigPanDA. The main component is server, which include the database holding all the information about available resources and jobs. And you can consider BigPanDA server as a global multi-parameter queue of jobs to all available resources. And there is a client which allows to submit jobs to server and also perform some actions on jobs like cancellation or restarting the jobs. Also, client can retrieve some information from server. Server dispatch the jobs to pilots which are running on resources and responsible to handle the payload execution. To submit the pilots on the resources, there are pilot schedulers which implemented to different grids and for different types of resources. Distributed data management system, it's not a part of BigPanDA, but BigPanDA is closely integrated with it. Atlas explore use of supercomputers through BigPanDA. And you can consider BigPanDA as the next generation of BigPanDA. It's an extension which allows to run scientific applications, not only traditional grid resources, but also on clouds, supercomputers, clusters, and leadership class facilities. There are usage of supercomputers in Atlas, in particular Titan, NERSC, Ostrava Supercomputer Center in Czech Republic, and supercomputer in Kurchatov Institute, with a few others, now integrated within the Atlas workflow through BigPanDA. So technically, you can integrate any possible resource to the BigPanDA world just to customize the pilot and pilot submission system. Pilot has a highly modular structure, and writing the plugins to a particular resource, you can integrate any. Blue Brain project. So the goal of that project is to build biologically detailed digital reconstructions and simulations of a brain. And the supercomputer-based reconstructions and simulations offer a radically new approach of understanding of a multi-level structure of brain and its functioning. And the novel research strategy allows to build the computer model of the brain at unprecedented level of detailization. Also, supercomputer-based simulation turns understanding of brain into a tractable problem, providing a new tool to study the complex interactions between different levels in brain organization. In this study, we consider the following computer resources. We worked with the Blue Gene Q supercomputer and 2 other clusters in Switzerland, also Titan supercomputer and Amazon on-demand cluster. Those 2 clusters belonging to BBP project. They are GPU-based and located in Geneva and Lugano, providing 47 and 81 teraflops. Blue Gene Q supercomputer located in Lugano and provides 0.78 petaflops. And also BBP has an allocation on Titan and on Amazon. Now computing model of the Blue Brain project, moving from the machine-specific setup to common functional building blocks. And before software deployment, data distribution was performed by manual methods, and job scheduling was done using the site-specific schedulers and resource-native resource managers. And now they move into use Nix as a software deployment server. Globus is considered as the data transfer tool, and BigPanDA going to be the global job scheduler for all available resources. So we performed the initial test in March. We did that work in Campus Biotech in Geneva, and we performed the basic PanDA installations of core components, which are a client, server, and database. So we performed the initial test by submitting jobs and track the job execution through the PanDA infrastructure on all presented resources. And after that initial test, we extend the infrastructure by deployment additional components like PanDA monitor, pilot schedulers per each resource, and some additional web services, including service methods for authentication. We started to work on data management system and implemented original file catalog, and as a data transfer system, Globus Toolkit is supposed to be used. All together, PanDA native components together with the additional ones, we call all of that together a PanDA portal. So that's the picture of complete infrastructure now present in Blue Brain, and we worked with. On this slide, there is a picture of user interfaces, which provides the user authentication mechanism integrated with the Blue Brain SSO and LDAP groups. Also, we developed the job submission form, where user can simply pick up the desired software from the list, type in additional parameters and file names, and to submit the job to the PanDA server. On the PanDA server, we defined dedicated queues per each resource, and one general queue which cover all the resources at one time. So the user can define which particular resource he wants his jobs to be run on, or just submit the job and it will be run on the first available resource. There is a monitor showing the state of jobs which are running or finished with the status of the jobs, where you can track the errors. Also, the frames to retrieve the output information also presented, and it's supposed to be used even to download the results if the volume will allow, the volume of output file. So, as a conclusion, we successfully finished the first phase of the project, which we called proof of concept, because we demonstrate that the Blue-Brain test jobs can be successfully submitted through the BigPanDA infrastructure and be executed on presented resources. The success of this phase was approved after our combined meetings, but what is more important, it was approved after set of Blue-Brain project internal live presentations and discussions. The system was presented to the potential users, the scientists, and also was presented to the management of Blue-Brain. What else? We demonstrate that the software and the general approach we used in experiments on LHC can be successfully applied for other scientific areas, in particular brain studies. And now we're going to move forward for the second phase of the project, which will be pre-production. Now this stage is under investigation. So this is it from me. Thank you very much.
Question? Can you actually give a scale of the expected payload that the Blue-Brain project is going to give to BigPanDA?
Well, it's so at the moment it's not defined yet, at least for our BigPanDA team. But what we already tested, we tested the test Blue-Brain NPI jobs they used for initial tests, and also we're discussing the possibility that the system will be used by the different independent groups in Blue-Brain project. And we even developed the mechanism how to preserve the data from one group to another group, because it's different from how it works in Atlas, because in Atlas the data is the common, but in Blue-Brain they want to preserve the data. So it's expected to be about a dozen of groups with hundreds of people to use that, but the amount, I mean, the volume of the payload itself, at the moment I can't tell. Thank you.
Other questions? Yeah.
I have a question. You were mentioning that you are exploiting different HPC centers, supercomputers, with BigPanDA. Is this
right?
Correct. From your experience, do you have a generic way of? I mean, HPC centers usually they are more restrictive when it comes to the access of the batch farm data in out. Do you have a generic way of interacting with HPC centers, or do you need to do different things for different?
I would say we had a big experience of doing that, because as I said, already a few years as Atlas exploring use of supercomputers like NERSC and Titan. Titan has quite strict regulation of the access, and we're doing that. There is not actually some general way on my personal opinion. So, but the integration, normally integration with the resource is done on the level of pilot. So the pilot can provide the possibility to write the plugins, and the way how you get data in and data out, it's all implemented in plugins of pilot. That I would say.